73, Moonlight Bay. I have a few things I'd like to point out here. We'll start with the right hand over on page 74. Now their fingering, you wonder, is this fingering really working? And the answer is yes, the fingering is fine. All right. I have a few little suggestions, but their fingering for the most part is fine. You think at the top of page 74, you look at the 1515 repeated, right there. That's fine. In this case, it's okay. Okay, this is not something that we have to play legato type thing. You just play it. I do want to point out a few little gotchas though, little things that we need to be aware of. On the third line on page 74, in the second measure you have a reverse repeat sign first, okay? You have a whole note. You're going to hold that down for the whole measure, and while you're holding that down, you're going to play these other notes. Okay? You get this in a number of places, so it's important to hold those notes down. There's no pedal here. You're doing it with fingers. And the last measure there in the third line, watch the fingering. It's 2, and immediately it's a 1. Okay? You don't have to do that way. You can, if you want, you do the thumbs playing holding the G down from before, and then you're going to do a 1, 2. You can do a 3 and then a 1, 5. That's fine. You don't have to bring the thumb immediately because you're playing the A again. So use third finger if you want. In the last line on page 74, there at the beginning, you have a 4-5. You're going to play it with the fourth finger and substitute the fifth. You got to do it quickly because you need the fourth finger for the next beat. You're going to hold the G and the E down while you play these other notes. Okay. Second measure, the thumb's busy. The melody's at the top. So do the best you can. I do use a 1-4 on the last note on page 74, the half note, the FD. Fine for me because when you go on top of page 75, it's 1-3. And then for the last beat in that first measure, I do a 2-5. Because I'm going to play that whole note G with the thumb. I'm going to hold it down all the way to the next measure, and then we do it again. Get the idea? Third line down on page 75, last measure, you're here. I would do a 1-4 on the 8th note and a 2-5 on the dotted quarter note. And then a 1-4 on the first measure of the last line. But then you got to substitute the 5 again right quick. So you got room, you can reach the 3. And the first ending and the second ending both, you can play that E with second finger. It's okay. The left hand just has the chords. And I would separate the notes slightly. Not staccato, just separate them slightly. So you get the idea. At the bottom of page 73 in the left hand, notice in the first measure it's a half note. Hold it down. And then another half note. Yes, I know the pedal's down. I don't care. You're doing it with the fingers anyway. Okay. You get that at the top of page 73 in the last measure too. On page 74 in the second line at the end, you have a fermata. I'm going to hold that for 2 counts. It's going to seem a little weird the way this is written, but that's 2 counts, and then we go on. Now, what I want to do here is when we do this play together is I'm going to do page 73 first. Then we're going to stop, and we're going to turn the page, and then we're going to do pages 74 and 75. I'll count us in again. When you're performing it, you can't do that. You got to keep going. So the question is, how do you make the page turn and keep going? It's a bit of a problem because you're not using pedal. Could if you absolutely had to. But both hands are busy. So in this case, you have a choice. You either have to memorize some measures before or after until one of the hands isn't doing anything, so that you can use that hand to turn the page. Well, there isn't anything on page 73 that allows you to do that, so it's not going to do you any good to memorize measures on 73. And on page 74, both hands are busy until you get down to the third line. So unless you're willing to memorize the first two lines on page 74, that won't help you either. If you do memorize the first two lines on 74, then you just leave it. You're on looking at page 73, and you just keep playing until you get to the third line on 74, when the left hand finally gets a break, and then you use the left hand to turn the page while the right hand's playing those notes. But you got to memorize 2 full lines. Ugh. So that may not work for you. What else can you do? Well, you have no choice. You have to leave out some notes. You can't leave out the melody. You got to have it. So at the bottom of 73, you've got that. Okay? What I tend to do in this case is I will leave out some notes in the left hand, but I will still try and catch some note on the beat in the right hand to make up for it. So here we have this, and the last measure on 73 is here. I want the left hand freed so I can turn it, all right? So what I might have to do is change the fingering slightly so I can play a couple notes with the right hand to make up for the left hand not playing. And I have to play some notes in that chord. What's the chord? Well, here it's a G7 chord. So I need some notes in the G7 chord, a couple of notes that I can play in the right hand. I'm in this position. Don't have to be. I can change the fingering here to accommodate this. I can go here. You know, I can play that half note with 3 and 5. That leaves 2 fingers free to play some other notes. Well, I've got here and here. So if I do that, then the beat is covered, the melody is covered, and I freed up one hand to turn the page right quick. And you can experiment and see what you think of. We do this sort of thing a lot when we have to turn pages, all right? Because if I just leave the hand out and I don't put in the beats, you're going to get that. Which is better than nothing, but if you can figure out it helps to fill it in while you're busy with the other hand. It's an arrangement. We can rearrange them if we have to accommodate the page turn. Otherwise, you have to copy one page, which may not be legal because it's copyrighted material, and then you put the copy over here and you can play the whole thing. But I didn't say that, Judy. I'm not encouraging you to duplicate copyrighted material. No, no, no. We ain't going to go there. No. In the pedal, they're showing you legato pedaling through a lot of stuff. And for the most part, I just totally agree with it. Just pedal it the way they're telling you to pedal it. The pedal is only used on page 73 at the beginning because when we get to the fun part, you know, we want a little bounciness in here, and the pedal would screw that all up. So you don't get any more pedal until the second ending. So, and yes, when we play this, we are going to take both endings this time. So let's try this out. It'll give us 4 counts and 4/4 time. Right hand, left hand, foot's on the pedal. Okay. 1, 2, ready, go. Stop, turn the page, hands where they go, foot's on the pedal, here we go, 4 counts. 1, 2, ready, go.